There we go.
Got it.
Got it.
Okay, before we get started with the film and movie, whatever you call it, I want to share something with you all that I got in the mail last week. And you just cannot make this stuff up. Yeah, right?
Yeah, that is
Oh
timing.
my God.
I don't know if you can see it or not, this crazy thing. Yeah.
Yeah, I could. Yeah.
I get a summons for jury duty on November 20th. I about died.
Well, now you're going to serve, right?
Well, if I'm chosen, I'm number 419, so I'm kind of far down the list, but
Yeah.
I'll find out the Friday night before. You can call in and see if you're still on the list or not, or if you've already been excused. So we'll see what happens. So
Yeah, that's funny.
That's a great side note.
Yeah, it is great.
Well, go back about a year and a half or two, see if there's any sensational cases in that jurisdiction that you might get pulled for.
Ooh,
Ooh, yeah.
that's a good thought. I don't know how to do that, but okay. I'll see if I can figure it out. But
Well, just look up murders in your town for 2022.
2022, okay.
Wow, that's funny.
I've been called before and was just, let go after they had their fill as a jurors after sitting there for several hours. But
The two rock solid ways to get out of jury duty is to say one of the two following things: I believe everything the cops say, or I don't believe anything the cops say.
That's true.
And that comes up in voir dire.
Yeah, right. I know it does.
Right.
Or is your father a policeman or anyone in your
Yes, or anyone in your family?
Yeah.
Or
Mine
have you
was.
been? Yeah.
my ex-husband was a Kansas Highway Patrolman, so that worked for a while, but not anymore. He's out of the picture. But anyway, well, let's get this thing rolling. Everybody have a good trip down to New Orleans, hanging out in the French Quarter and all that.
Yeah.
That was fun to see some things that are notable that anyone that's been there a few times knows. Jackson Square and the St. Louis Cathedral, and Cafe Du Monde was in there. You could even catch Dustin Hoffman wiping off his mouth after he ate the powdered beignet.
The beignets, yeah.
Yeah, just a
the
few
Superdome was on, and the river.
Yes. So there was a lot going on and very, very quickly, but I thought it was fun. But this movie had a budget of $60 million, and the box office was $80.2 million worldwide, and $49 million of that was in the US. Directed by Gary Fleeter, I don't know how to say his name. He's had many, many other films that he has directed, as well as some television shows. From 1995, one called Things to Do When You're Dead in Denver, clear up to 2013, something called Homefront. And when I read through the list, I wasn't familiar with any of them, but that's not surprising. So Roger Ebert liked it. He gave it 3 out of 4 thumbs up. And a few little fun things here. I'm making the assumption everyone watched this, so I'm not going to go back through the plot and all of that we all know, right? So we'll move on to a few fun things. This was the first time that Hoffman and Hackman have ever been in a movie together. If you can imagine that. They attended Pasadena Playhouse together, where they learned acting, and they were both voted least likely to succeed. If you can imagine. So yeah, that just shows you what Pasadena Playhouse knows. The bathroom scene that, I don't know if you can see it, these crazy cameras behind me, was written into the script kind of after the fact, when a member of the crew realized that there had been no verbal interaction between Rohr and Fitch throughout the entire movie. So they added this in kind of as at last minute, and this is the first time that the two of them have ever interacted in a movie, talked to each other, had any dialogue, I guess I should say. So that was kind of fun. The incident where the juror, the anti-gun fanatic guy, stood up and rips his shirt open and there's blood everywhere. That would have happened. That entire jury would have been dismissed. Not just him being dragged out of the courtroom. They would have started all over again. Reciting the Pledge of Allegiance, the jury. That's not done. That was a tell, because Marlee had told Fitch, "Are you feeling patriotic?" or something like that. So that was a total tell that, hey, we can manipulate this jury if you don't abide by our terms and give us the money that we want. So through many, many twists and turns, the elimination of jurors, some replaced, some sway this way, some sway that way. Ultimately, Fitch sends a detective up to Indiana to discover that Easter was actually a man named Jeffrey Kerr, and that Marlee was his girlfriend, Gabrielle. And what he learned by going to Gabrielle's home was that her sister had been killed in a shootout in a school. The person that was behind stacking the jury in the for Bloomington Arms manufacturer was Fitch. So I guess in kind of a roundabout way, karma, Fitch's secret, his own secret, is exposed, and his line that everybody has a secret they don't want you to find came back to bite him. So the plaintiff was awarded $110 million. That was Celeste Wood, and the $15 million that was wired to Easter and to Marlee was actually going to go back to Gardner, Indiana, to the victims of the school shooting where Gabby or Marlee lost her sister. So I'll just leave it at that. There's so many details and so much to talk about. So I'm going to call in Jeff Arthur, because when I announced the movie, he goes, "Sweet." And he really likes John Grisham. So Jeff, take it away.
Yeah, I do like John Grisham. I've read most of his books. I thought I'd seen this movie, but I may have seen parts of it, but I didn't see the whole thing before. I'm not even sure I read the book now, but it would have been years ago. But I did enjoy it quite a bit. There's a lot of action and a lot of twists and turns, like you said, and it was just a great story. And like I said, I love John Grisham. Most of his stuff, some of it's kind of dry, but he always has these legal dramas set in the South, which I don't know why. I seem to enjoy them quite a bit. So,
well, I agree with you, and you may have read this book. The book was written where the trial was actually against big tobacco and cancer.
Oh,
it wasn't.
Well, yeah, I remember that one. Okay,
so
they changed it for the movie, huh?
They did.
Wow.
They did change it for the movie.
Something happened, I think, in real life that made them do that. There was a decision made in a tobacco case across the country, and they didn't want to mimic that, I guess.
Okay.
I remember
I
reading something like that. Yeah. So go ahead. Who's next?
Well, I said then I did read the book then, because I do remember reading one about big tobacco. So. Yeah,
that was it.
Well, I think I've seen this movie in the past, but it was a long time ago. I thought it was a hell of a yarn. It was just a good story. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Yes.
The thing I'd like to point out is that jury coaches like this have been around since the 1980s, and the thing about it was their boiler room for this sort of reminded me of Tom Hanks' Mission Impossible data centers. It's not even possible now to pull up that sort of data on people, and the idea of wiring a lawyer in the courtroom to a jury coach in some boiler room would get a case thrown out of court
Right.
instantaneously. And then the other thing about it is, with respect to this being a film in 2003, a couple of years after that, there was the Congress passed a law that made it almost impossible for somebody to launch a lawsuit like this against a gun manufacturer. Now, there have been a couple of cases that have gone through the very narrow exceptions that would make a gun maker liable. It happened in the Sandy Hook situation because the maker of the firearm that guy used violated the advertising practices in the state of Connecticut, and that's how they got that case to trial and won a judgment against the firearms manufacturer of $73 million. There are a few other places where there are some cases against gun manufacturers that get through the tight exemptions of the law on this. There wouldn't have been any sort of exemptions in the state of Louisiana, for example, just because of their gun laws. It wouldn't apply in some other states in the South. Here in Kansas City, however, there was a 2020 legal action pursued by the state of Missouri, not by the state of Missouri, by the city of Kansas City and the Everytown anti-gun lobby, where they went after the manufacturers of bullets and some guns that were being spread around Kansas City by a gun dealer that dealt in small arms. And they did get some money from one of the organizations, but it was a pittance. It was like $150,000. And I think the case is still on in several different other areas. But anyway, I thought this was a great movie. I liked the approach that it was a jury that was in the tank, and that they weren't completely pro-gun or anti-gun on it. The story was about how this jury was in the tank. I thought it was a good yarn. I'm surprised with the firepower in it that it didn't get more recognition than it did, because it got almost nothing. I thought it was a good movie. It had some implausible parts on it, but like the jury pool data center and that sort of stuff, and how they use that information. But it's a movie, so and that all contributed to the storyline on it. I liked it. I liked it a lot.
Thank you. Donna.
Yeah, Chris, I thought this was a great choice. Absolutely great. I had read the book too. I actually had forgotten about both the book and the movie until I saw it again. I went, oh gosh, yes. Who was the lead again? What's his name?
John Cusack.
John Cusack. I love John Cusack. He's one of my favorite actors. I can't remember his name, but that's because it's me, not. And but I really like him. Everything he does, I think he's so underrated, and I really like him. But to have him with the two biggies there, it was just great. One of my favorite quotes was, and this was by Gene Hackman's character, Fitch. Trials are too important to be left to jurors. Oh God, yeah. It was just, but I really did enjoy it, and I thought it was perfect. There was something in there, and I didn't write it down when I heard it. Something about at that point, so that was 2003, right? At that point, there were 2 million, was it 2 million people that were affected by, I think they said it in the movie, and I think it was there were 2 million people that were affected by gun deaths or guns in the United States at that time. And so I went and I asked, well, how many were affected now? And it's up to 9 million. So unfortunately, as powerful as this movie was, it's unfortunate that, you know, nothing has really happened. I mean, I'm in Florida. We had, you know, we had all these gun shootings here and nothing gets done. But anyway, it was a great choice. Really good choice, Chris. I liked it a lot.
Thank you. Thank you. Terry, what can you tell us? I can't wait to hear.
Well, if I had watched the trailer, it's a movie that I would not have chosen to watch.
Okay, and why is that?
I don't know, guess.
Guns, violence.
You got it.
Okay,
It opens.
Well,
It
and
opens with violence, that's for sure. I mean, that was a pretty violent opening, but the rest of it is all about discussion of violence.
Yeah.
is that it, Terry?
that's it.
Mike Sanders.
I too enjoyed it. I thought it was like Mahoney said it best. Probably it was a great yarn. Grisham writes some great yarns, and so
Mhm.
I'm a Grisham fan too. I don't remember reading this one though. Whenever that book happened to come out, but it was Cusack is also one of my favorites, Donna. I liked him in High Fidelity. I always thought that was
Yes. Yes.
was one of his great movies, and one of these days I'll pick it. I guess I don't know, but and he's a Chicago boy, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
he comes out of that whole Second City thing or whatever was going on in Chicago. But
And his sister too.
oh,
Joan?
that's right, Joan.
Yeah,
Yes,
she's really good too. Yeah.
I forgot about her. Yeah. Oh, so I thoroughly enjoyed it. I thought it was a great yarn, and I watched it twice. As a matter of fact, I rented it, and I had 48 hours to watch it again. So I watched it again. I thought it was something that kept me on the edge of my seat, even though I knew what was going to happen after the first go around. Boy, I was really full that second time. No.
Mike, when you watch something a second time, do you look for nuances, or what prompts you to do a second viewing?
Actually, it's the screen saver behind me. I have a screensaver on my computer that I like, and when I'm watching, I go, "Oh, that would be a good one," or "There's a good one that I like." And so, if I don't have anything better to do, I go through it with my finger on my screensaver, and I save on this one I saved about 15, and I like this one because it showed him in the jury and he's smirking.
So it's either for GIFs or memes. Is that
Right. There you go. I don't really do memes too much, but I did watch Alien the other day, and I was going to make an Alien meme and put it on Facebook, but I just never got it.
So shits and grins has turned to gifs and memes.
There you go. But I thought Chris picked a good one for first time out of the box. Not bad at all.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Sure do. So who else? Pete, Jeff Copeland, Mike Mattson, Bill Barnhart.
I'll
I would
weigh
go
in.
ahead, Pete.
I like the movie. I will tell you, I've read several Grisham's books. I probably enjoyed The Firm more. It's perhaps a little bit more well known, or I might even have done better at the box office. I don't know, but it was a good story, as Mike said. But I did find myself, maybe because my daughter's an attorney now, Mike, you talked about the implausibility, the whole thing about the boiler room and Hackman's setup where he does the deep, I mean, does that happen? Has that ever happened? I mean, is that a thing? You know what I mean? I mean, I mean, a trial like this where there was many, many, many millions of dollars at stake as far as a potential award. I could see going to that extreme to try to assemble a jury, but is that a thing based
Not,
on your
not,
years of reporting?
yeah, I did a couple real high profile corporate cases, and then a whole bunch of high profile crime cases. And like I say, yeah, jury coaches are a thing, but to instantly be able to pull up all that sort of data quickly and make a decision like that, and then have an earpiece to the to the lawyer that's doing the voir dire, that doesn't happen, and that earpiece would result in a mistrial, and probably a summary judgment against the offending side. So yeah, they do coach. It's getting more and more sophisticated year by year, but it wasn't at that level.
I mean, that seemed to go beyond coaching. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
that's
There's one thing to
yeah.
just, when you got the jury, the prospective jury sitting in the box, and the lawyers are trying to figure out, I like this person, I don't like that. But this was that on steroids. The other thing was just that Cusack and Rachel Weisz, or however you pronounce her name, for two people coming from a small town in Indiana, that they were for them to be able to pull that off. Pretty remarkable, because that would require quite a skill set to be able to play these folks like they were able to do, But again, it was a good story. I enjoyed it, Chris.
Thank you. Well, supposedly Nick Easter had attended law school in Indiana, so he had some kind of background there. But there's a lot of continuity that is missing in this story. You just have to make up your own. So
yeah.
But at the same time, I was thinking about it in 2000, or in that area, the internet is just coming into well, not just coming into fruition, but where all of us are starting to get our fingers on, oh, it's got all this information, it's got all this. And it's the young kids, and Nick and Rachel, Nick Easter and Marlee were young. And my sense is that when they're young, they can they grab that stuff and just run with it. And I think that's, they couldn't figure out how to win any other way, but just, we're going to use the computer to get in where we need to get in, figure out what we need to do, find out, they were following Fitch around the country to try to get into all of his all the juries that he was working with. And I also thought that if there is a jury like that, I mean, a person like Fitch, he wouldn't be out in the open anyway, would he, Mike? I mean,
yeah,
it's like this would be something that would be, like, it'd be something that he'd be paid under the table to do all this stuff. That's my sense of it anyway. I don't know.
Yeah, but he's the star, kind of like Jeremy Piven.
Yeah, that's right.
You're not going to deny him screen time.
Well, in my experience with this, and it's been a few years, but not that long since I've covered a big trial. The jury coaches, and there's often a team of them. There's somebody there that's a psychological profiler. Somebody else is taking a look at their background as best they can. Those people sit in the courtroom, as far as I know, because I've seen them in there, and they'll make assessments, and then the attorney that's doing the voir dire will literally go over, and they'll have a 35, 40-second, maybe a minute-long sidebar with their jury coaches. Say, what do you think? We like this person or not? But the high-tech boiler room was over the top.
Yeah, you'll see a lot of people that will jury coaches, or really defense coaches, that will sit in there because it's much more psychological than it was. What their camera in the briefcase allowed us to do was to see those things, like the lady putting her hand on
Yeah,
Cusack's
Yeah.
yeah.
arm, and
Yeah.
it's the observational details that camera let us see, but then they took it to the nth degree with the boiler room and the people following people and doing instant internet searches on where they lived, what they did, what their parents did. That part got a little away from me, but
Can't they do that? I mean, they can do it now. I know that.
They can't do it. They can't do it at the level that they described in
Really?
here. You know, maybe governments can do it like that, but I don't think a private law firm
So
can do that.
so you know,
the 10-foot cat.
but you know
Oh,
you know that what's it called? White pages. Have you ever used white pages on
Yeah.
the internet?
Yeah,
Okay. So when they go and they say, okay, here's, they've got all your stuff, where you've lived before, what you have you been accused of a crime? Have you been to, I mean, they have all that stuff if you're willing to spend the money. It seems. I mean, I don't know. And I'm guessing if I, as a layperson, can get that for $20 or whatever it is, and again, I'm being probably, I don't know. It seems to me with all that money, like you were saying, Mike, with all that money or being involved, that there would be, if I can get a lot of information for $20, how much can other people get for, say,
The difference
$1 million?
is, the difference, Donna, to me, was the real-time communication of that.
Ah, I see. Okay. Yeah.
Yes.
Well, you're right.
All of
You're
it
right.
happens. All of it happens in the back room. They talk later that night. They have a couple pops and they say, keep 9, kick 11.
Yeah.
We
Yeah.
don't
No,
want
I see what you're
33.
saying. Yeah.
But I mean,
Right.
Grisham, he's saying, so the book was about big tobacco, and then it got switched over here to gun control. He's making the argument, if you had unlimited money, what might you do?
Yeah.
And so that's why these things, take on a different form. They, these are the things that big money might do
Yeah.
in order to win a case. They don't do them, right? That's true. They don't do them, but big money would try to do these things.
Yeah.
Well, they
Yeah.
already buy Congress.
Yeah. That's true.
Absolutely.
I already got one of those. Thanks.
Like
Good.
Yeah.
somebody said earlier, they've since passed a law. Mike Mahoney said it a while ago. They've since passed a law that you can't. What was it you said, Mike? They can't sue over guns.
They can't see.
yeah, it's really, really, really difficult to blame a gun maker for what happens with a gun in somebody's hands.
Yeah.
So at the first of this movie, wasn't John Cusack? Wasn't he trying to get out of jury duty?
Yeah,
well, he
Yes.
put on that
Well,
facade.
that's the
just so
con.
that
Yeah.
the judge would say,
Yeah.
oh, no, you've got to do your duty here. Oh, well, I guess I will.
Oh, okay. So it was.
I
Well,
think
he was the
so it's-
ultimate con man. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was manipulation for sure.
Yeah.
well, along that lines, in one of the criminal cases I covered, there was a a guy from, I'm going to say Cameron, which is outside of Kansas City, about 60 miles, and it was a federal. It was a federal trial, so they were drawing from the entire district, and they called this guy up to be screened by the two lawyers, and he told the judge, "Man, look, I'm I'm a teacher, and I'm in a relatively small school district. Cameron's a town of about 20,000 people. I just can't do this. And the judge asked him, "Oh, okay, you're a teacher. So what do you teach?" And he said, "Civics."
Oh my God.
Get back in the box. You're still on the panel.
Oh
Whoops.
my God. Unreal.
Little trivia here. I was born in Cameron.
Ah, there you go.
Bob Griffin was put in prison in Cameron.
Bob Griffin was from Cameron.
Yeah, he was. Yeah. And there's a prison there now.
Yeah. It was then too, I believe.
Yeah.
Who's Bob Griffin?
Bob Griffin was a guy that was
He was
Speaker
your
of the House.
Speaker of the House in Missouri.
Okay.
Yeah, in the Missouri legislature for literally 20 years. Nothing happened in that building, no matter who the governor was, unless Bob Griffin said it was going to happen. And over the course of time, I mean, he started off as a pretty good, well-intentioned legislator, and absolute power corrupts absolutely, and that's exactly what happened to him.
We have a lovely list of Speaker of the Houses that share that common problem. Like
Yes,
current
we
one,
do.
Dean
Yeah.
Plocker's got his own issues this go around.
Almost as good as Illinois.
Yeah.
Yeah, well,
I don't know if we're in the Illinois league yet. We're just
Well,
jailing
yeah.
House speakers, not governors.
Yeah.
We still have ketchup and mustard running the field during innings. So we're in the minor leagues.
Well, I had a couple of observations about this movie. One of them, well, first of all, this was what I think of as the movie that I would like to go see someplace or watch for the sake of seeing a good movie. It was a whole movie. It was the whole package. It had everything in it that you'd want. It had a great story, had good characters and all that stuff. And I really thoroughly enjoyed it. So hats off. The other thing is it was driven by greed and revenge, which are very strong motivations. And they were kind of disguised in some ways, but the greed obviously on the part of the big business company, and then the revenge on the part of Marlee and Jeff or King, whatever his name was actually. Yeah. And how they played that back and forth was really cool. I loved it when they tried to get Marlee and she got away from the goon and said, "Oh, by the way, the price just went up to $15 million. I mean, that was really, I like the fact that Hackman's goon guys really were very kind of bumbling and couldn't pull off good stuff, except maybe burning a place down. That was kind of good. I also want to point out that Michael Weatherly, who had a character in NCIS for a long time, then had a series called Bull, which was all about this. His business was jury evaluation, and he had all this equipment and everything. So I think this concept of being able to have real-time data and being able to sort of communicate in and out of the courtroom and say yes, no on short notice has been propagated over the course of time, whether or not it's a real thing. And I was going to ask Mahoney, how would somebody in the courtroom know that there was an ear communicator during the course of the case? How would they detect that? Do they screen for electronics, or what do they do?
When you go into the courthouse,
when you go in, number one, when you go into the courthouse, everybody goes through a mag detector. Although they're much they're less restrictive with attorneys in a case. But if somebody is wearing a wire like that that he would have put on beforehand, and I think he did, that would have picked up on a mag for sure. And it's it's a real high stakes gamble.
But now the hearing aids, you can work through your phone for someone else's phone. I mean, how would
and like airports now, if you hire somebody who works inside the airport, they could carry something in and pass it to you.
Yeah.
So, I mean, there's any number of ways that that could be engineered for somebody who had enough money and influence.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I look at it, I hope it's implausible, but I doubt it.
I do too. Are we that cynical? I guess so. But yeah.
We're the assassination generation, so we are a little
Yeah.
cynical.
Yeah, we are. Yeah.
And then I'd like to say that movies have always become enamored with technology. I mean, how many times have you seen where somebody's has a
Oh, you must, you're on,
We lost you.
Yeah, he was
we
going
lost
there.
you.
You dropped out.
Mike, we can't hear you.
His hands got very descriptive though.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
what it was.
I wondered what that screen thing was, and all of a sudden it was gone.
it was gone. huh?
We're gonna
Sorry.
need
go.
Tony's sign.
Now you're
again.
back. Yeah.
There you go.
Okay. Well, anyway,
button.
in movies, you see stuff where they have an imaginary screen in front of them and they're moving things around and like they're inside the
yeah.
computer.
Okay.
And as soon as computers became available, Donna, they got involved in movies. Movies started,
Mhm.
um,
Well, sci-fi
but-
has
but-
always been, yeah.
Yeah. I was going to
Something.
say the just phones back in the 40s and 50s, a telephone became a regular thing. And so it's hard to watch an old movie where they don't incorporate the phone into it. An old Hitchcock movie or whatever.
Right.
There's all kinds of clues being dropped on the telephone where somebody's answering the phone or they're going over to the phone. Or I'm going to check with my friend before I do anything about this. Which
Well,
now we
I
don't-
always, go ahead.
We
I'm
don't think
sorry, Mike.
anything of it. But
Yeah.
anyway, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, I've always thought that movies, especially sci-fi, always looked at the future technology. I mean, you just look at Star Trek, if any of you are Star Trek people or Trekkies, the flip phone is just the transmitter or what was it called? What was it called?
Transporter.
Communicator.
Not the transporter. It was
Tricorder.
no,
Yeah.
no, but tricorder. They have
Communicator.
tricorders now,
Like
by
that.
the way. Well, whatever it was that, you flipped it up. The communicator.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you flipped it up, and that was just a flip phone. And every time I look at some of these old movies that are kind of sci-fi-ish, I always see something that, oh yeah, we did that. And those screens on I think those are real now. I
Mhm.
might be wrong about that, but I'm almost positive they are. Now,
Tom
is it
Cruise
ver-
loves those. He's always.
Yeah, I know, I know.
It's because you can
but-
see him at the same time.
That's right,
Right.
that's right.
Yeah, 2001 had FaceTime.
Yeah, there. See, I mean, there's so much. I
Uh,
always, pardon me?
An instance of science fiction becoming science facts, the Robert Heinlein. Everyone familiar with
Sure.
Heinlein
Yeah.
from
Stranger
Kansas
in the
City?
Strange Land, yeah.
And Time Enough for Love. He plays a 4,000-year-old person. You go in and get rejuvenated. And it was written and published in 71, so he's probably writing it in 69. Quote from the book, and there was a message in my phone.
See?
And then another one was the twins were at the reading machine. 1969. So science fiction becomes science fact.
Absolutely.
Happens
Don't
all
you
the
find-
time.
Don't you
Yeah, it
find when you
does.
watch the movie now and somebody has a flip phone, or you go back like Wall Street when
Yeah.
Gordon Gekko's got that phone that looks like
Yes.
A brick.
a walkie-talkie from World War II. You go, God, how old
Yeah.
is this? You know?
Or
when I
Dick
had a small
Tracy.
business, same thing. I called it my purse phone because it was as big as a purse, and that had the battery and the phone in it. And I could, yeah, how weird. But
Dick
I was
Tracy's
the only
two-way
one that
wrist
had that.
radio.
Yeah.
Oh, there you go. Your Apple Watch.
Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah, Dick Tracy,
No
the
kidding.
two-way
Right.
wrist radio. Yeah.
I think it's interesting that Jeff Copeland and Pete and I chose the exact same background. I'm not quite sure what that means, but I think it's curious.
Yeah,
I
that's
think it-
true.
It
Hey,
just
was
means
where were where was the sound of all the people knocking on the fucking door?
Well, that's
know?
not in the
I mean,
photo.
people have to
but
go to the
that's
bathroom
funny.
now. I mean, not even one person came up and was pounding on the window.
Your problem,
one.
Chris, is you didn't watch it twice to go in and pick out 15 different backgrounds you could have.
Right.
Well,
See, I saw
actually,
this
I've
one
watched it
and I
many
saved it,
times.
but then I knew other people would have it, so I tried to go with something different.
Well,
Actually, Dustin
there was,
Hoffman.
yeah, there was one person who tried to get into the restroom, and Hoffman's
outta here.
character said,
Yeah.
"Yeah, hey, we're cleaning it." But so they had the choice of using one of the other many men's rooms in a federal building.
Hmm. Hmm.
That's sarcasm there. All right.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I want to mention that you guys were talking about John Cusack. I really like Gene Hackman. I always think he's one of my favorite actors. This was his second to last movie. He did one after this, and he's been
Wow.
retired since
Really?
2004.
What was his last?
Was it the Royal Tannenbaums?
No, let's see. I had it up. It was Welcome to Mooseport.
Oh,
Ray Romano.
The
Yeah.
Royal Tenenbaums was in 2001, though.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's
just
what
remember
the
that
Mooseport
Hackman was
movie
in
is when he's a retired president,
other-
right?
Pardon?
The Mooseport movie is when he's a retired president, right? And he's
Yeah,
running for
and
mayor.
runs for mayor
oh yes, yes,
Yeah.
yes. Okay.
against Ray Romano. But Hackman was in The Firm too. I just realized there. I just recalled that he was in The Firm.
Oh yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
he was great in that. And I
Well-
agree with Pete, though. That was such a great one. Grisham always does those really, really good courtroom and firm. Wonderful.
By
He
the
was
way,
in the chamber as well. 1996. Hackman.
Wow.
He's 93 now.
Oh, goodness.
Dustin Hoffman,
Oh.
88.
Oh no, what? Dustin Hoffman is 88?
Jeez.
Oh,
You're talking
Jesus,
about
right.
Grisham. I want you guys to know that he's got a new novel coming out, and it's called After the Firm. And he
After
is
the what?
After the Firm. I saw
I
him
want to read that.
on a morning show, morning talk show, and
Wow.
they're already getting people reading it, and are giving him bids for the rights to it for a movie. So it'll just be a matter of time.
Hmm.
What's your favorite Gene Hackman movie?
French Connection.
Nice.
Yeah, probably.
I think mine is Unforgiven.
That's a good one.
Yeah, that was good too.
And I liked him in Bonnie and Clyde.
Hmm.
Mhm.
He's good in everything.
Yeah, he was. Yeah, he is. Right.
Hmm.
Well, you guys ready to talk about next week?
Come on, Chris.
Who's got next?
Thank you.
Yeah. Nice
Yes,
job.
thanks, Chris.
Thank you, Chris.
That
You're
was a
welcome.
great pick, Chris. That was a great pick.
Yeah,
Thank
it
you very
was.
much. Thanks very much. It was fun. I enjoyed it. So I don't know who comes after Elemento P, Q, R.
Got any cues? We got any cues?
Yes.
S. Sanders.
That's me. I used to follow Pete, but then, and he was just an M, but then you came along, Chris, so.
Yeah.
Last of the M's.
And Whitaker never does a movie.
Right, we never-
That's right. He should
Ever
do
since
more.
Moonstruck, he's afraid to show his face here, and we know that.
He should be on the hook for like 4 or 5 in a row.
Oh, there you go. You have to do the
Yeah,
next
that
one.
one,
That's right.
It was no
Take
big
it
year.
easy,
That's
we're
for
off,
sure.
Ricker, because you're
All
home.
right,
and you're gonna-
enough with the big year, please.
All right, here's the movie for next week. It's called Atonement. Anybody seen this by any chance?
If
Yeah, I read the book too.
Oh, you did? Okay. It stars James McAvoy, Keira Knightley, and Saoirse Ronan, who is an American-born Irish actress. And it came out in 2007. It's available for rent on, I think, 6 of the 7 places we go to. So pick your favorite. And it's a story about deception and love and getting things wrong, and someone who tries to atone for it. So that's it in a nutshell for you.
Perfect.
It was one that I had not seen myself, and so when I saw it, I liked it, and I thought you guys might like it too. It's got the backdrop of World War II in there with it. McAvoy ends up going to Dunkirk, and a bunch of things are going on at the Battle of France, and all that's happening. So it starts out as a kind of a country manor story, but then it turns into a wider worldwide epic.
Did it win some Academy Awards? I forget.
It did, but it was for music, for the compositions of the.
I'm sorry, what'd you say the setting was? What's the time period?
It's World War II. It's
Okay.
like 1940. I mean, to us, we think of World War II as 1941 to 45, but it's really like the late 30s and early 40s when
In Europe?
in
Yeah.
Europe, yeah. And
Yeah, World War II started on September 1st, 1939.
there you go. And McAvoy ends up going, he didn't want to, but you'll find out. And it also has one of the Redgrave sisters. I can't remember if it's Vanessa or the other one. But, lots of Brits in this.
Do you remember when it came out, Mike, or do you know?
Yes, 2007.
2007.
So a little bit newer than the last movie, but still a long way from where we are now.
So a lot of closed captioning for me.
Well, no, it's the language isn't that bad. I mean, it's not that hard. I mean, I had one a while back that was just a recommendation. It was called something about the winds calling on the cedars. Have you ever heard of that, Mahoney? It was
The wind that shakes the barley.
The wind that shakes the barley. That was it. And I definitely needed a caption for that to understand what everybody was saying, but this is not necessarily one of those.
Yeah,
Anyway.
that's a real dark movie with thick Irish accents, dealing with the Irish Revolution of 1916 and the Civil War that followed it. It's an interesting but very depressing movie.
Yeah, Cillian Murphy was in that, and he was pretty good, I thought.
Hmm.
But anyway, that's it. Any other recommendations since we're getting close to the new time?
Well, I have a
Go ahead.
Go ahead. No, go
I
ahead.
watched
Go.
Okay,
I watched,
Chris.
thank you. I watched Naiad on
Oh,
Netflix, which is the story of Diana Naiad's quest to swim from Cuba to Key West, and how she did it, and how many times it took her to accomplish it. And it was pretty good. And Annette Bening plays
her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
It's wonderful. And
Mhm.
and she was 61, wasn't she, Chris, when she finally did it? 61?
I think she was 63 or 64 when she
Finally did it.
did it. Yeah, after 3 or 4 attempts. It was quite
Yeah.
remarkable. I cannot imagine that kind of stamina
No.
or the drive to do something as crazy as that.
How do you spell that?
NYAD.
Oh,
Yes, her last name.
Yeah, she swam the English Channel, I don't know how many times.
Yeah.
Yeah.
that sounds
Pretty
good.
amazing.
Did you have one, Donna?
I was going to say that I think for you guys, wives, and you guys, I think it's good. It's a series, and I think I recommended before, but since I've watched now, I think 3 episodes. It's Lessons in Chemistry, and I think your wives would really like it. I think you guys would really like it. But it's fun and it's interesting, and it takes place in the 50s. A woman that's a chemist that is being, it can't get anywhere in her profession because she's a woman, even though she's smarter than any of the men around. And she ends up being a cooking host, like a
Julia Child?
yeah, like a Julia Child, but what kind of, but different. And she uses the cooking school as kind of a chemistry lab. So it's kind of interesting, but it's
now,
fun.
is it all out yet?
Well, it comes all, I think it comes out on Thursdays. So there's been 3 that have been out already, and I think it's only 5 or 6 altogether.
That's what I was thinking. Yeah. So you
Yeah.
can't binge it just yet.
Not yet. You're gonna have to wait a few more weeks.
Yeah, she gets connected with a guy who's unraveling the basic DNA formula, and she actually is doing the hard work, but things get messy and she has to go off and do something else. It's kind of cool science too.
Mm-hmm.
Talking about science, I watched a movie called The Oxford Murders from 2008, which has Elijah Wood and John Hurt in it, which was kind of an interesting intellectual movie. It's about trying to stop some murders in the Cambridge neighborhood.
So this isn't about a movie pick, but Mike, what did you think about what the deal was on the 2nd season of Queen's Gambit? When I Googled it, it said there will be no 2nd season of Queen's Gambit. Like several of the entries on the page, but yet there were trailers with Tobey Maguire playing Bobby Fischer. So who knows?
Yeah, they're promoting it already. I mean, I can't imagine they're not going to do it after they spend all the money on promotion.
I don't know, but like I said, half or more of them said there will be no season, according to Netflix.
Is it a
SAG? No
thing?
season 2.
Is it a strike thing?
Yeah,
I don't know.
Well, they're supposedly close to solving the strike. I don't know. They gave them their last best offer, and
Well, that'll do it.
well, no, the hints are that like Saturday Night Live is starting to bring on. They've scheduled people that they would normally not do during the strike, but these folks are going to be pushing their movies and their TV
Well,
shows.
it said that Jason Momoa and who's the first one coming up. It said they're not really going to promote their.
If they can't, right?
Yeah.
I've got one more from Netflix when you're talking about can you binge it yet? Here's one you can do all the way through if you want to. It's called All the Light You Cannot See. Anyone see
Oh
this?
yeah.
I could not turn it off. I watched it like straight through. It's 4 episodes, which is not too bad. They're about an hour apiece. And it's also a World War II movie. So if you're into war movies, I guess, and it involves the Battle of France from the inside and the French resistance and that sort of thing.
I've heard it's really good.
Yeah, Mark Ruffalo stars in it, and the young gal that plays the blind girl, I've never seen her before, but boy, she was incredible in this thing.
Well, what's so interesting is she's actually blind. So
Really?
she really is
I did not know
blind.
that.
Yes.
I did
And
not
so
know that.
that's what really brings an interesting aspect to it too. So anyway,
I've been watching the Frontline shows, and I finished that one on the Astros. It was pretty good, where they were cheating, and you can sure see why people are still upset about that. But then I started in on the one about Mitch McConnell, and it was pretty good too.
Yeah, I just saw that the other day.
The Mitch McConnell one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, maybe now they can turn their attention to Michigan. The cheating.
Oh, let's see who. Who's cheating up in Michigan? The government?
The coach.
Oh, yeah, right. Harbaugh. Right? Harbaugh.
Yeah.
Anything else, folks? We're getting close.
Yep.
Chris, nice job. Thank you so much.
Yeah, very
Yeah,
nice job.
Chris, really
Thank
good.
Good movie.
I appreciate all the kudos, so I was really nervous about this, so thank you for your support.
When Whitaker comes back, we'll see what he says about the movie and whether or not it grossed enough money, I guess, or something.
That's fine.
Can I
Whatever
enter-
he wants
can
to do.
Whether or not the arc was long enough.
That's
There you
right,
go.
the arc of the characters, right?
Well, I'm
Can I
sure he'll be
interject
watching the
something?
video later tonight, so he'll
Can
see
I
the
interject
video.
something?
Go
Yes.
ahead.
I don't think this is about picking movies that everyone likes. I don't think that's the point of
Yeah.
our club. It's not. We're critics. You know,
Right.
it's not a popularity contest. It's if you pick a movie and half the people don't like it, so what? That's their opinion. You know, it's not a reflection on anybody's
And taking
character or
taking that little-
aesthetic
Terry,
choices.
Terry, I should be so lucky that only half the people didn't like it.
You know, and I think there's a real possibility that you haven't even seen the movie before. You know, nobody says you have to pick a movie that you saw and you really like. You know,
Right.
I always think I lots of times I think I want to pick something I haven't seen before. I mean, I could see the person picking it not even liking it.
Mm-hmm.
It's awful
So-
dicey.
So it's completely open.
Pete, I think you need some professional help with this big year thing. That's
Yeah.
just me.
Yeah.
Yeah, Pete, if you want us to start helping you pick, we'll do that.
I'm good. I'm good.
All right, you guys, I'm out of here.
All right.
See
See
y'all.
ya.
Later.
All right.
I'd see
Hey,
it.
Jeff
everybody.
Arthur.
Way to go,
Jeff
Rachel.
Richard.
Arthur. Hey,